usually just say, well, okay, we've got some big news reacting to it now. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Joseph Wittering, I'm board-certified psychiatrist. And I think what makes me a little bit more interesting here is in my practice, I help people come off psychiatric meds. So I'm very sort of aware of I'm very aware of the overuse of psychiatric medications. And I also used to work at the FDA and for the pharmaceutical industry in various roles. And so today I'm going to be reacting to this executive order on the Make America Healthy Again Commission. So let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, so it starts off by talking about life expectancy lagging over other developed nations. And this is true. Our life expectancy in this country is dropping. And a lot of people are saying that there's, something's going on in America. Why is this happening? People are pointing to the way food is being produced here, pesticides in the food. The fact that I think, I've heard statistics like 60% of the diet is now comprised of processed food, and that could be leading to poor health. I think that's quite likely, but I also think that we have a problem in the United States where we don't really treat root causes with things. We just kind of paper over them and medicate them. Think about people with like obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, even autoimmune diseases that can be triggered by foods. We're just kind of papering over these things with like statins and antihypertensives and different immune modulating drugs to treat them, which all have side effects, right? Rather than encouraging people to be healthy, maybe stop with the food, get a bit more exercise, and really treat it at the root causes. And that's very much the same with mental illness as well. In this country, we treat people, in 20-minute visits, oftentimes not really understanding where their mental illnesses are coming from, whether there could be genuine life stresses. It could be a reaction to terrible food, which I see sometimes as well. I know this sounds crazy to you, but what you eat actually impacts your mental health. And instead of really digging into those things, we usually just say, well, you might have a mental health condition and it's probably biological, and don't worry, we'll give you this medication. So there's a lot of things going on at the moment which are not great. 6 in 10 Americans have at least one chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have 2 or more chronic diseases. This is a very sick country, and 1 in 5 adults in the United States live with a mental illness. And that's, and people are going to see this and say, well, 1 in 5, well, maybe there's just wider recognition of mental illnesses now, and there's not actually things making people sick. And maybe there's some argument to this because, after all, you go on Twitter these days, and we're kind of in a weird place at the moment where there's been so much pro mental health advocacy going on over the last decade that there's really no like stigma around it, I guess is what people will say. You turn on TikTok, people are like showing you the pills that they're taking these days. I'm taking this antidepressant and this antipsychotic and all of that. And that may be because, we're so open about mental health conditions now that more people are coming forward and they're getting treatment. And maybe this is even a good thing. I would say kind of hold your horses there, because I actually think there's a lot more going on. I really do think the rise in mental health problems is probably linked to the foods that we're eating. And this is what's going to make me sound crazy compared to everyone else, I actually think the drugs are making people sicker. I think long-term psychiatric medications does make some people more unwell in the long run. I think it's something that we're not talking about. And I also think once you start getting on some of these medications, you start to have side effects, and often they are missed. And what starts as something very benign can become something much bigger. Anyway, so let's keep on going into this. Okay, United States has the highest age-adjusted incidence of cancer. That's not great. Asthma is twice as common in the United States than most of the other countries. Yeah, asthma, we're really thinking at like food issues here when it comes to asthma. What is in our food that is revving up our immune system so that asthma is more common in the United States? I think we definitely need to have a look at that. And autism spectrum disorder has the highest prevalence in high income countries, including the United States. I'm not sure about what's going on there, but it is definitely worth having a look at. And yes, our autoimmune diseases are more common in our developed nations. Goes on to say that 30 million children have at least one health condition at the moment, like allergies, asthma, or autoimmune diseases. Again, this is food stuff here, or maybe even toxin related. We have autism spectrum disorder now affecting 1 in 36 children in the United States, a staggering increase from the rates of 1 to 4 out of 10,000 children identified with the condition in 1980. Again, I know some people are going to say, well, the diagnostic boundaries of this have changed now, but we really should be looking underneath that and saying, are there things that we are being exposed to at the moment that are actually damaging to the mental health of our kids? Or maybe are there things that the adults are exposed to that are damaging the quality of the sperm or the quality of the eggs? And there is something about that is leading to a high incidence of kids being born with neurological problems. Definitely worth a look. Along with this, these health burdens have led to an increase in the prescription of medications. For example, in the case of ADHD, 3.4 million children are now on medication for the disorder, up from 3.2 million. And so now we have to think about, why do we have 3 million kids in this country who need to be on stimulant medications to pay attention